The sampling model for PCAS Master Packs has been updated to take into account guidance from the FRC, firstly concerning sample size caps or maximum sample sizes, which have been removed, and second, the risk model has been updated to include 5 risk factor options, namely very high, high, medium, low, and very low, to align with the risk ratings 1 to 5 used in the PCAS tool. The effect of this is that when an audit pack is updated to any of the new releases, this impacts on the risk factors and sample sizes already calculated in the previous versions of the Master Pack. The new release of the Master Pack is IPCAS 16, the PCAS Company Master, PAP Pen 15, the PCAS Pension, PAP CH 15, the PCAS Charity, and finally PCAS AD 09, the PCAS Academy Master. Before making any changes for the client files in either the BDE or SQL versions of CCH Audit, we very strongly recommend a backup is taken of the client file before upgrading to the new Master Packs. This video is for users who are using the BDE version of CCH Audit Automation. For users of this version, both the area risk assessment and identified risks will need to be considered after the client has been upgraded to the new release of the Master Pack. Let's look first at the area risk assessment and the process we need to go through there. Firstly, for your area risk assessment, you will need to make a fresh assessment of your area risk. To make it easier, you'll need to delete the following files from your dataset directory. So what we're going to do is to go to the dataset directory of the client. I've got mine in something called Audit Client Files. I'm going to pick a client called PCAS 40. So as I say, this is the first thing you need to do for your area risk assessment. I've got PCAS 40. If I double click on that, there are 3 files here that we need to delete. So let's go and find those. And it's these ones here, the FAASS results. So we need to delete those 3. The effect of deleting the above files will be to remove all your current area risk assessments so that a more meaningful assessment can be made which correctly reflects the updated risk model that we have. Therefore, all risk assessments will need to be done again, and this process will automatically generate the updated versions of the FAASS result files that have just been deleted. So having done that, if we then come back to CCH Audit and go into that client in CCH Audit, and we'll be going into the risk assessment area of that. So if we go into here and go into risk assessment, I'm going to go into debtors and prepayments. And the risk assessments will all have been set back. So where the tests have been selected to mitigate risk, clicking on the sample calculator of the test will result in a prompt as to whether you wish to use the updated risk factor to recalculate the sample size. And if the method is accepted, the sample size is recalculated. So what we're saying is that, firstly, these risk assessments have been set all to very low, so they've been reset, and we need to now set them again. So if we go in here and reset our risk assessment, let's say to medium, and we'll then, as I mentioned just a moment ago, we'll need to then go into the tests linked to this and redo sample size. When we do this, as I mentioned, if we click on there, this will result in a prompt as to whether you wish to use the updated risk factor to recalculate the sample size, as I mentioned a moment ago. So if we accept this message and just say yes to that, then the sample size will be recalculated. I had 20 before, I've now got 17. Just be careful here and be mindful that of the fact that the sample sizes are no longer capped in terms of the size it gives you there. So just click use. And that's essentially it. So what you will need to do is to do that for every test for which a sample size exists. Next, we need to look at identified risks. This process only needs to be carried out if the system option assess risk level on identified risk has been ticked. If it has not been ticked, this process can be ignored. So let's just go and look at that firstly. We'll just come out of the client and look at these system options, because this is absolutely crucial here. So if we go to our system options, what we're saying is that if this system option here, assess risk level on identified risk, is not ticked, then you won't need to concern yourself with what we're about to go through. Obviously, if it has been ticked, then you will. So that's obviously very important to check that. To deal with the identified risks, this process does require access to the Audit Automation support program to be able to edit the risk.dbf file. So just going to cancel that. In order to get to the support program, we'll need to go to where CCH Audit is installed, Audit Auto. And we now need to go into the support program in here, which is called support32.exe, and open that up. You need to access it with MNGR or whatever your equivalent of that is. We'll say OK to that. You'll then get this message about using the program defector amendments only if you've got a backup, so which we've already talked about. Do you wish to continue? Yes, I do. And we now need to open the client within the support program. So if we click on Open File, browse to your client, which in my case is again PCAS 40. And we need to go to open up a file called risk.dbf. So if we just find that file, riskfile.dbf is the one we want. Open that up. And then what we need to do is to go to columns here that we're interested in are the sample and factor columns. And we need to delete any figures that are in there. To do that, you need to firstly click Edit File. It'll give you a warning there. Just say yes to that. Click on any figures here and just press the delete button to get rid of them. I think you'll have to do it one at a time. So you do need to make sure that both your sample and factor columns have nothing in there. Having done that, you need to close the file and then exit. And now we're going to go back to CCH Audit, go into our client again, and this time look at identified risk and reset those. Okay, so let's go into identified risks. We go up into identified risks. I'm going to pick this one here. And there is our risk assessment. Now, what you need to do here is in order to reset the risks, we do actually need to go in here and pick something different from high. Anything will do, so you can click very high, medium, low, or very low. So I'm just going to select very high, say OK to that, and then go back and click high again. That resets the sample sizes, etc. Say OK to that. And then when we go into any tests that are linked to this, if we click on Work Program, I've got a test linked to that, so we need to redo that sample size. Double click on that. Select your sample button. You'll now be prompted as to whether you wish to use the updated risk factor to recalculate the sample size, and if the message is accepted, the sample size is recalculated. Again, be mindful of the fact that sample sizes are no longer capped, so when we look at the actual sample size. So if I'm just going to say yes to that, we've now got a sample size of 25, before we had 23. Then click on Close on that, OK to that, and OK to that. And we'll just close that down. So the point there is you will also, of course, need to do this for every test to which a sample size exists. But that covers both the items we were looking at, the area risk assessment and the identified risks.